Welcome to Project Inner Leadership, where women build and become. This is the podcast for ambitious women in business who are building, leading, and achieving, and who know they're meant for more. Here, we don't just talk about strategy, we talk about consciousness, self-leadership, emotional mastery. Because the business you build will never outgrow the woman you become. If you're ready to expand beyond your current limits, to dissolve inner resistance, and to manifest a business and a life that truly reflects your deepest vision, then you're here in the right place. This is about thinking beyond what feels realistic, building a business without burning out, leading beyond fear, and creating from clarity instead of pressure. I'm Christina, and this is Project Inner Leadership. Hello everyone, I'm Christina from Project Inner Leadership, and today's episode is such an important one. The topic I'm going to talk about is motherhood in business, because I have so much to share with you about this subject. In the past, I struggled a lot with being a mother while running 3 companies at the same time. And that actually contributed to me experiencing a burnout, depression, anxiety, and so many other physical and mental health issues. Coming out of that was quite a challenge, to be very honest, until I truly realized what these struggles were all about. So today I'm going to share with you what I think about all these ideologies out there about how you're supposed to be as a mother, whether you should have a business on the side as a mother or not, whether you should be a housewife or you should work on the side. There are so many opinions out there, so many ideologies that truly can drive you crazy. And I honestly believe that we as mothers, we have one of the most difficult roles in this society, because once you become a mother, you are put in a box. And I have never seen a box to be that strict as the box of motherhood. Because there are so many expectations, ideologies that are all at the same time a contradiction to one and each other. So whether they say you should be a housewife, you should only invest your time into your child and into your household, there is coming up at the same time another expectation that tells you you have to work on the side, because what the heck? You cannot live on the money from your husband, or how you gonna earn money? You have to do something on the side. You cannot just only be a mother. You need to have a job, you know? So there are so many more opinions out there which really can make you feel overwhelmed. And I want to share with you today what caused me to struggle so much, and that is one of these or several of these ideologies, and how I changed my life, my business, my health, and how I changed, most importantly, my attitude toward being a mother while running several businesses at the same time, and what really helped me to overcome these struggles. I think this is super important for every mother, or even if you're planning to have a baby, or you're not even sure yet whether you want a child in the future. This episode is still very helpful for all of you, because it's not only about motherhood, it's about overall life. So then I would say let's get started. Yeah, I was around 30 years old when I got pregnant with my child. And at the same time, I already had my company. I was already successful. My company was making already 50K a month. So everything was running quite well for me. And I have to be very honest, I'm such a passionate business owner. I love making business. I love building businesses. I love making money. I love to deal with money. I love to grow. I love to challenge myself. I love to lead teams and give value to people. I honestly really love that. I think I really have my hobby as a job, being a business owner. And that was the reason why I was getting pregnant unplanned. I didn't even think about children. I didn't even know if I want to get children because I was so much in love with my business. That was kind of my baby. And yeah, I got pregnant and I was full of doubts. I didn't know how I can handle my business with a child. How can I deal with it financially? Because what if I, stop working because I need time for my child? How I'm gonna do that? How I'm gonna continue with my business? Because my business attempt at that time was making 50K a month, but I didn't have a big team. So I was completely stuck in the business. I wasn't working on the business, I was working inside the business, and I didn't have anybody to help me. We were only a team of 4 people, and I was doing the customer support, dealing with all the clients. And yeah, so if I would step out for even 1 week, my business would go down. And that's why I was really doubting myself if I can handle that. I was so much anxious about what's gonna come, what's gonna expect me when I get a child. Then, when I was pregnant 10 weeks, I experienced a miscarriage. So I lost my baby. That was very, very dramatic for me. I think everyone that has experienced a miscarriage knows how painful that is. And that basically changed everything inside of me. I said to myself, if I get ever pregnant again, I'm not gonna stop this baby from coming to this earth because of my business. So life happened, and 1 month after I had a miscarriage, I got pregnant again. And today I have a healthy boy that was born in Austria, in my hometown. I was so excited. When I got pregnant again, I was so excited and I was so sure that I can handle it, even though I was still a little bit nervous because I was kept thinking, I don't know how I'm going to handle being a mother while running several businesses. I mean, how can you do that? Yeah, how can you handle that? Because I had several meetings a day. I had to show up all the time for the clients. I had to organize everything in the background for the client, assigning tasks to our employees. I could not imagine how I can deal with having a baby and, yeah, having a business at the same time. And that was also the reason why I was working until the very last minute before giving birth. Unfortunately, I really was hoping to give birth naturally. I think a lot of women, they have that wish because of the health advantages for the baby and for the mother, for the connection between mother and baby. I was really wishing to have a natural birth. However, I was working so much in the business and didn't even have time to physically and mentally prepare for the birth. My baby did not turn around. So, if you know about pregnancy, usually the normal birth position of the baby is with the head down and the legs up. And in my case, my son was in the breech position. So the natural birth wasn't possible because he was sitting. He was literally sitting like a Buddha in my belly with his legs down and his head up, and he didn't want to turn around. The hospital in my hometown did not support natural births in that situation, in that breech position. There was only one hospital, I think it was in Slovenia or Croatia, I'm not completely sure about that anymore. And there they could have helped me in such case. However, I would have needed to drive around 10 to 15 hours to that hospital to give birth naturally. So I decided, okay, I don't take that risk. I have to decide to have a C-section. So the C-section was planned, as usually C-sections are planned. However, life happened again. My baby boy did not want to come out exactly on that planned day. He came out 1.5 weeks earlier. That was a shock for me because as I've mentioned, I wasn't prepared at all. I was so focused on my business. I didn't have packed any bag. I didn't inform myself how a C-section is, what they're gonna do. Nothing. Like, honestly, I didn't have time to prepare anything. And that was, I think, also one of the reasons why he didn't turn around and change his position, because I wasn't prepared for him, which is absolutely okay. Back then, it was making me really sad. When I think back today, it makes all so much sense, because I had that life that so many people dream of. I had my business. I made at least 50K a month. I had a nice car. I had a nice apartment in London, because we were living in London at that time. And I went back to Austria to give birth. So I was traveling also the world. I was, yeah, successful. My business was growing quickly. I started to build my team. I had a husband. Everything was super perfect. I was kind of free. However, the thing was, I didn't feel like that. I felt like I have to hustle every day like crazy to keep up my company. I have to work so hard to reach even 100K a month, to grow my business, to grow my team. I was full of doubts, limitations, anxiety at that time. So I wasn't feeling free at all. And imagine, I did not even have 1 week time for myself to prepare for the birth of my child. Isn't that crazy? Oh my God. Yeah, so I had everything. I could have been so much grateful for it, and I was. But at the same time, even though I have achieved everything I've ever dreamed of, my life was not feeling, how do you say, it was feeling healthy, you know? There was an inner voice telling me already, if you're gonna continue like that, you're gonna end up in crazy things. As I've already mentioned in the beginning, I ended up in a burnout, which I'm gonna talk about with you later. So, long story short, this whole podcast episode and my whole podcast, all the episodes that are coming out in the future, the only message I wanna give you is, you don't have to be in such a situation. You don't have to be pregnant and end up working until the very last minute before giving birth, and working at the same time, being completely overwhelmed, how you're gonna handle everything, how you're gonna build your business besides motherhood, not even able to take off a few weeks to look after your child after giving birth. No, you don't have to end up in that situation, because I was making life super, super difficult for myself. I was taught always that you have to work crazily hard to achieve something, to earn money, to make millions. You have to be this, you have to be that in order to achieve. I want to tell you that's all nonsense, because if I look at my life today, it can be so easy. And honestly, I make 5 times more money than back then per month, and I don't even work. I have an empty to-do list. I don't even have a to-do list anymore. I can take off from my work 1 or 2 months and nothing's gonna happen. I can even die and my company will still continue without me, because everything is set up to run by itself automatically. For example, if I would get pregnant today again, there will be a whole completely different scenario. I will not end up in the same situation, full of stress, full of pressure, fears, not knowing how to handle life, myself, my child, my business. No, everything would be super difficult, different, and super easy without needing to do anything in the hard way. And that's what I wanna tell you. Imagine, I still remember sitting there in the hospital because my water broke, and me and my husband, we had to go to hospital with the emergency. And we were sitting in the hospital. I was laying on the bed. My husband was sitting next to me, and we were waiting for the doctor to arrive to perform the C-section. And I still had my phone in my hands, sending messages to all the employees, to all the clients, that I'm about to give birth in a few minutes, and they have to organize everything for me and try to manage whatever they can, because gonna have a surgery now and I will maybe not be able to work for a few days. Yeah, it was just a few minutes later. I had a C section. And then afterwards, it was, I don't know, it was 1 or 2 days after I got my surgery. I already started to work again in the hospital. I was laying there with my baby on the side, sleeping, full of pain from the C section, not able to move my legs. I was already putting out my laptop again on my legs and working from the bed because I had deadlines, clients complaining that they have deadlines. I have to finish the job. I have to organize things for my employees. It was super unhealthy. Then, after 4 or 5 days, I gave a signature to the hospital that they release me from the hospital earlier than I was supposed to leave. Because usually, when you have a C section, you stay around 1 to 3 weeks in the hospital. But I wanted to leave earlier because I wanted to work and go back to my normal routine. Then after 4 or 5 days, I don't quite remember anymore. I was back home and I started to work again. And I'm always amazed because nowadays I see a lot of interviews with other coaches and other business women on the internet where everyone is so fascinated when a woman, a business owner, is sitting there with a baby in their hand. So showing, okay, she has a company, she has a business, but at the same time, she has her baby at home. Everybody's super amazed about that. And to be very honest, it is amazing. We really live in amazing times where we have never been in such a creative position as nowadays, where we really can create anything we want. Like we can literally create the life we want. And I also, back then, it was always my dream that I build my own company. And if I get a child one day, I want to have the child with me at the same time. I don't want to, for example, some women, they have to give their child in the age of 3 months to the nursery or to a nanny because they don't have the time. They have to go back to work and they can't take their child to work. In my case, I was so wishing that when I have a child one day, that I can have my baby with me at home. I have time for my child and to work at the same time. That is really amazing about these times in our, yeah, in nowadays world. However, it is also something where we as business women have to be super careful about it. Because what happened to me was that I was going into a big burnout because I couldn't deal with baby, business, and all the pressure at the same time. I was growing up with this ideology that I have to be there for my child 24 hours and raising my child alone because if you take help from someone else, then you are weak, you're not strong enough, you're not a good mother to give your child away, or, I mean, getting someone to help you. So I was always putting so much pressure on myself to look after my child alone, to not take any help from anybody else. I honestly, in the beginning, I felt really happy with that situation. I felt super happy with having my child, and at the same time, like having my child in my arms, sleeping, and at the same time, responding to emails on my laptop and working on my business. That was such a crazy and at the same time beautiful experience. However, over time, things started to change for me. And this really happened when my son turned, I think it was about 1 year. He was about 1 year old. Because when children reach that age, they start walking and running around a lot. So he was basically doing all time things that are super dangerous and that make you freak out as a mother. I sometimes didn't know how I can even deal with these situations all the time. And that was when my real challenge began. At that time, I didn't have a nanny. We were living in Dubai. So, just maybe that you understand the background from me, we are still living in London, but because the healthcare system is not as good as in my hometown in Austria, and because I already had a miscarriage in London, I was quite afraid to go to the doctor here again because I didn't really like the hospital and how they looked after me and how they treated me when I had a miscarriage. So I decided to give birth in Austria. So we were then in Austria for 3 or 4 months. I was giving birth, and then we stayed another 3 or 4 months. And then we were thinking, I don't know why, but we thought, London is always so rainy, it's so cold the weather, so we want to try and experience something completely different. And then we got to the idea, yeah, maybe we can just move to Dubai. And then we moved to Dubai. So we went between Dubai and London. We went back and forth. So we stayed in summer in London, and in the winter we stayed in Dubai. There we, of course, didn't have any family nearby because my family is living in Austria, and I didn't have any support other than my husband. I was at that time refusing to hire a nanny because I believed, as I've already mentioned, I would be a bad mother if I let someone else take care of my 1-year-old child. It's too early. He still needs to build a connection to me, which is absolutely fine, which is absolutely fine. That's what I say. All these ideologies out there, they are just here to make you go crazy. In the end of the day, you really need to do what you feel, what your intuition tells you. If something makes you feel very, very good, then you should go for it. But in my case, I was putting that belief inside of me that I have to act in a certain way. But over time, more and more, I didn't feel good anymore. I believed I had to be strong enough. Even if it was difficult to manage a business and a child at the same time, I thought I had to handle everything myself. I didn't take and I didn't accept any help. And that brings me now to another important point, social media and how toxic it can actually be. Because these ideologies that we have outside, they grow inside of us. Because we are watching all these Instagram moms who show that they have a business while raising their children, and everything looks so easy. And they still have time to put makeup on their face, to be in a perfect body shape, to go to exercise, etc. In my case, I was in the pajama the whole day because I didn't even have time to brush my hair or to change my clothes. Because I woke up straight away, I feed my child, run to the laptop, work. So I was changing my focus all the time between child, work, child, work, child, work. The thing is, when you look behind the scenes of these Instagram people, something completely different is happening. On the outside, it all looks perfect. But honestly, believe me, in the background, behind the scenes, it looks completely different. They all have help from nannies. When we were living in Dubai, I had many neighbors that were big company owners, famous influencers on Instagram and YouTube. And believe me, nothing what happened on the outside reflected what happened in the background. They all had nannies in the background, sometimes even more nannies. They all had cleaners, kitchen chefs, and they had so much help on the background so that they were even able to show such a luxury and perfect life on the outside because everything was organized in the background. And I don't want to say it's something wrong about that, but I just say that I got a completely different picture. I thought I have to deal with my child alone, running my businesses, looking perfect, going to gym, lose the weight after giving birth, being attractive again for my husband, living the perfect life, maybe building a fourth business, because three businesses are not enough. That actually caused me to believe in something that is not even natural. You're not weak if you can't handle all of that. I mean, that's an illusion. That's not reality. Don't believe everything that you see on Instagram. Don't believe everything you see on social media. It's absolutely okay if you feel like you need help with your child, take it. If you feel like you need help with your business, take it. It doesn't matter what you see outside. You do you. You're not someone else. You don't know what's their story, what's really going on in their life. You have to follow what is good for you. In my case, I unfortunately didn't follow my intuition. I ignored the signals my soul and my body were giving me. And that's why I ended up at a point where I got a burnout and serious health symptoms, and I couldn't even function anymore. There was this ideology telling me, you must be a mother 24 hours a day. You're not allowed to do anything else. If you don't take care of your child yourself, you're a bad mother. And at the same time, an opposite ideology came up. What? You're only a mother? You're only a housewife? You're not working? Shame on you. You're living from your husband's money. You have to do something. You have to grow your business. Your business is going down. You cannot accept that. You need to do that. And you cannot take help for your business because that means you cannot handle your business. You have to do everything yourself because you also have to save money. You cannot throw money out of the window. So these were extreme ideologies, toxic ideologies, to be honest. They were living inside of me and criticizing me all day long until I just couldn't function anymore. I could not function anymore at all. I tried so hard to satisfy everybody around me and satisfy myself, but how can you satisfy yourself when the inside of you is so chaotic and so imbalanced that it doesn't even tell you anymore what is right or wrong for you? And that was also when every 2 or 3 months I got a sinus infection. And it's so interesting. I never had sinus infection before that, but then suddenly every 2 or 3 months I got this sinus infection. Sometimes I needed around 2 to 3 weeks to recover from that. I couldn't recover anymore. My immune system was completely down. My nervous system was completely overstimulated. Imagine you get sick, but your body can't properly recover. It takes longer and longer, and every time it takes even longer than the time you recovered before. I still didn't recognize what's really happening to me. Then I developed skin problems. I got chronic skin issues. I developed some stomach symptoms. I got a lot of allergies. I couldn't eat anymore. I lost my appetite. And then I started to become to develop a lot of anxiety, depression. I was always crying. Yeah, until I could not even get out of my bed anymore. I was mentally and physically extremely weak. And I noticed I'm only shouting at my child. I could not be nice with my child anymore until I kind of rejected my own child. I know now this all sounds completely negative and really crazy, but I just want to tell you that I had to reach that point, and I know many women that they want to build a business or they already have a business, they reach that point. And now I know, going through all these challenges, I know it doesn't have to be like that. So the first thing to change my life was I hired an assistant. I hired an assistant who took over all of my tasks in the business. I hired a customer support to take care of all the clients. And then I completely stepped out of the day-to-day operations of the business. And you know what? I was extremely afraid to do that. I was thinking nobody can look after the clients like me. Nobody is as good, as caring as me with our clients. How can I trust another person to do all of that? How can I afford that? Because yeah, an assistant costs me 2,500 a month. Customer support costs me 3,000 a month. That means a lot of outgoing money. I already had a lot of outgoing for advertisement because we spend around 20K a month for advertisement. How can I deal with all of these costs mentally? What if my business goes down and I can't pay these people anymore? Like there were so many thoughts inside of me, so many blockings and fears popping up inside of me. But you know what? Once I stepped into the danger, I went through that situation, which was making me so feel anxious. I actually was able to improve my company. Actually, my company started to grow. Everything started to grow like crazy. When I decided to step out of my company, I get help, I hire more people, I build my team bigger so I can finally retire, kind of, you know? And the next decision I made, which was so important, was to hire a nanny. We tried also to give our son into nursery. However, he really didn't like it. He was crying all the time for weeks. So I eventually decided to get a nanny for our baby boy. When I really start to deeply think about all of that and really think about why my whole life went so much out of balance, and my health and my business, and there was so much chaos going on, I realized it was just a reflection from my inside out. It was just a mirror for what's going on inside of me, and that changed my life. I also realized my child was not the problem, because actually, the more imbalanced I got, the more imbalanced my child was. He was shouting around all the time. He was crying. He was so dominant. Honestly, he was so dominant and demanding that I didn't even know how to deal with him anymore. But I realized it was not my child that is the problem. It wasn't my life that is the problem. The real issue was that I needed to make space for myself again, space to breathe, space to let the energy flow again. There was so much stuck energy inside of my life. And I needed to create that space where I could breathe again, where I could process everything. I could process eventually the birth of my child. Imagine months, years later, after my child was born, when I started to make space for myself, I started to cry. I started to feel so many emotions about my birth, because there were a lot of trauma inside of me, trauma of not feeling good enough for my child, of being a loser. I wasn't strong enough to give natural birth. I wasn't strong enough to prepare myself for the birth and stuff like that. There was so much stuck inside of me, and that was all energy that just wanted to be seen, that just wanted me to give it its space to flow again. And that was also why I kept getting sinus infections. Isn't that interesting? Because if you read about the deeper spiritual meaning behind sinus infections, it often relates to feeling like you can't breathe in your life anymore. Like everything feels super tight and there is no space for yourself anymore. No space to breathe, no space to express your desires, no space to live your true inner self. And that realization was the real turning point for me. And that was also when my health slowly started to improve. Yeah, so basically, I hired people to help me with my company. I built my team. I hired a nanny. I hired a cleaner, and I hired a kitchen chef. So there was a lot of bills coming to me. There was a lot of money going out. And you know what? I made these decisions before I actually had that money. And that's the interesting part of this podcast episode, because before I had the money to spend for hiring 5 more people for my company, hiring a nanny, hiring a cleaner, hiring a kitchen chef, before having that money, I made a decision to do that. And that is super interesting. And now listen carefully to that. When I thought about spending all of this money, my protection mode starts to activate. My nervous system starts to react like crazy. And suddenly I felt deep anxiety when I think about paying 10 to 20K a month more, 10 to 20K a month more to help with my child and to help with my company. So that fear was kicking in. It was kicking in. It made my nervous system react to it like crazy. I started to feel like my heart is racing. I started to sweat. I started to get migraine. I started to feel it in my whole body. I hear the stories coming up like really intensively. Are you going to afford that? What if your business goes down? How can you pay all these people? Oh my god, you're going to end up in the street. You're going to end up destroying your business. You're going to end up destroying your relationship because of that, and your child is going to suffer from that, and your health is going to suffer. And endless stories. So all these stories started to appear in my mind. And all of these thoughts, these stories, they made my nervous system to react. But instead of them letting to block me, because that's what was happening the past months and the past years, all these stories, they made me feel like they are real. They made me feel like they are my reality. Oh my God, yeah, Christina, really, your business will go down and then you can't afford to pay these people. Oh my God, you're really not safe. Oh my God, look, your husband, he's gonna divorce you because you're gonna bring down all your companies. And my child, look at my child. He's also really suffering from my decisions and my health. Look, oh my God, I feel already in my nose again. I get a sinus infection. These stories, they made me feel like they're real. They were feeling so real. Once I realized that these stories are not real, these stories are just the protection mode in your body. And these stories, they are tightly connected to your nervous system. So, of course, your nervous system reacts. That's completely normal. When a story is popping up, when a thought is popping up that gives you the alarm, sorry, 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 no, no more walking, no more walking, stop, stop, stop. You have to be super careful. Don't do anything further. Stop now, because that's really dangerous what you're doing. In order to make you stop, your nervous system reacts. And that's completely natural. There's nothing wrong with you, because you always read now in all the Instagram posts, in all the podcasts, and all the YouTube videos about regulating your nervous system. No, 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 no. You don't need to regulate your nervous system, because your nervous system is connected to your thoughts and the stories that are coming up all the time inside of you, and they just want to protect you. It's like you tell yourself, I want to go through a fire and I don't want to feel that my body makes me stop to do that. You don't want your body to protect you. You go onto a very high house, I don't know, 10, 15 floors, and you want to jump from the house. And you want to tell yourself, I don't want that my nervous system stops me from doing that. That's like saying no to life. That's like saying no to your body, because your nervous system is your body and it's here to protect you and it's here to give you these feelings. So it's absolutely normal and natural. There's nothing that needs to be regulated. However, what we need to do is we need to acknowledge and understand that these stories in our head are not reality. Then what's going to happen? We just accept our nervous system to react to it, because it's natural, as I've already mentioned, and let all these emotions travel through our body. And that's it. And that's what I did. I saw these stories. I said to them, it's fine that you are here. You're not my reality, but thank you for telling me all these worst case scenarios. And now, nervous system, I feel you. I feel the anxiety. I feel the stress. I feel the pressure. I feel the frustration. I allow you to flow. Yeah, because you remember, energy wants to flow. I let it flow through my body. And then I continue my way. I take the feelings with me. And that is something you'll hear me say again over and over in this podcast. Your emotions are meant to move. Emotions want to move through your body. They are not here to block you. If you suppress them, they will block you, and you may end up in the same situation as I did. You get burned out. But if you allow these emotions to move through your body, they eventually calm down on their own. And then you carry them with you and move through the situation anyways. Your nervous system might be still active, but that's also completely fine. That's completely normal. You don't need to fix or regulate your nervous system. Your nervous system works perfectly fine no matter what all these experts out there tell you. It's simply trying to protect you because it believes the stories in your head are real. So that's what I do. I take the feeling with me, and you know what's gonna happen? Something else magical happens. Your nervous system begins to calm down by itself. It calms down because you allow the emotions to move through your body while you move through the situation. I said, okay, thank you for the stories. Nervous system, thank you for giving me that feeling. I accept everything, I let everything travel through my body, and now I go through the situation. Now I go and I hire all these people. And then suddenly, wow, oh my God, that wasn't actually that bad. That wasn't actually dangerous. My business even went up. My God, my business, after I hired these people, my business went up to 150K a month. And that's when I gained better health. I gained better mental clarity. My physical health improved. My child became more balanced. I didn't lose money. It was the opposite. In my case, I even gained more. Everything turned out to be wonderful. And the next time, for example, if I have another situation where I'm afraid of, where I feel like, oh my God, I don't have the money to afford that, but I really need it now to be in the flow of my life again, then I do the same again. I see the stories, I see the thoughts in my head, I feel the emotions, and then I walk through the situation. And then what's going to happen is my nervous system gets more and more used to trust in what I am doing. So then you actually become the master of your nervous system instead of always trying to regulate it. It follows you automatically. Your body will follow you automatically. So, what I want to tell you is listen to your intuition, listen to that voice that keeps appearing again and again, that one that doesn't go away. That voice is persistent, it's not loud, it's quiet, but it wants to tell you something. And then follow it. Because if you follow your intuition, you won't end up in a burnout like me. Your life will become so much easier. And the key is to work with your emotions. Recognize that your ego and all the stories in your head are not reality, they are just stories. And that's completely normal, and your nervous system reacts to it. And if you follow the emotion to move through your body, if you allow the emotion to move through your body instead of suppressing it, you gain emotional clarity. And once emotional clarity is there, your intuition begins to speak much more clearly with you. And that's the beautiful part. So, another thing now in the end, I want to say is that it's absolutely possible to have a business and be a mother at the same time and be fulfilled at the same time and to have an easy life at the same time, to have an easy business, to have an easy motherhood, to have an easy relationship with your husband, to easily have enough time for yourself, to easily have enough time for doing exercise, for self-care, and to have a healthy body easily. You can handle all of it and you don't need to be afraid of it. Because if you follow your intuition, if you follow what's good for you, even though if it feels like, oh my God, I can't do that, but your intuition tells you you should do that, then follow it. Follow it, let the emotion flow, and then you will see you're going to end up in a much better place than even before. Trust your body, trust the process, you will be completely fine. Everything is allowed to be here. We are here on this earth not only to feel the comfortable emotions, also to feel the uncomfortable emotions. Both are energy, both are the same. I hope this episode was helpful for you. If you want to share your experience with me, I would truly love to hear from you. Whether you're already a mother with a business, planning to have a child, or you're currently pregnant, or you don't have children, or you don't even want to have children, doesn't matter. No matter where you are in your journey, I'd love to hear your story. Please remember, we are all going through similar experiences in this life. And please create some distance to social media because it can be extremely toxic. It's not designed to make you feel good. Only follow those people whose content truly supports you and lifts you up. If someone's content makes you feel less worthy, weak, or inadequate, stop following them. And please don't believe everything you see online. There's a lot of fake content out there. Many people present a life that simply doesn't exist in reality. So again, having a business and raising a child, or even multiple children, or even multiple businesses, it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that's not meant to destroy you. It's a challenge that's meant to transform you. Every woman reaches a point where she feels like she's lost herself completely, whether she has a business or not. But that experience isn't there to break you, it's here to transform you. And if you allow the transformation to happen, I truly believe your life can become something incredibly beautiful. Trust me, trust yourself, follow your intuition. Work with your emotions instead of suppressing them. I hope this episode helped you. I wish you all the best. Take care of yourself because no one's gonna do that for you. And I'll see you in the next podcast episode. Bye bye. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to take a moment. Not to do more, not to fix anything, but simply to notice what moved inside of you. Growth does not start with doing, it starts with awareness. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. And if you feel called to, share it with another woman who is building or becoming. Because we don't need to hustle harder, we don't need to silence our emotions. We simply need to lead ourselves differently. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. And remember, the way you lead yourself determines what you build. I'll see you in the next episode.